Boom! YouTube in the house. What's up, everybody? So I thought I would do a quick little video on the Sony ps1 Classic. I know I've been gone for quite some time. I've been having some drama with my YouTube channel in general, not with you guys, but more with YouTube. So I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about my thoughts of the Sony ps1 Classic. Today is December 4th, 2018, which means that yesterday the ps1 Classic was released. Now, I was excited when this console came out. When the pre-order was leaked on September 19th, I immediately went to Best Buy and, Best Buy online, and I ordered one. It's $100, and I was like, look, this thing comes with 2 controllers. I don't know what games it comes with yet, but that's cool, because could Sony really mess up that bad? That's what I kept asking myself. There were so many good games for the system, and here's what I mean by this, and this is what a lot of other reviewers aren't talking about, is there were really 2 generations for the Sony PlayStation 1. There was like Generation 1, which is non-analog, non-DualShock era, and these are the games that are on the system. Think of it, if you're Nintendo guys, think of it like black box Nintendo games. You know, those Nintendo games that come in the black box, those really, really simple games, those are PlayStation 1, Generation 1 games, okay? Look at it like that. That's probably the best way I could explain it to you. Because what all these people don't understand is that when the Rumble Sticks came out, or the DualShock came out, it was a couple of years into the PS1 lifespan that the DualShock came out. Now, what nobody's talking about is what happened between that time. And there was something called the analog stick. So there was a controller released by Sony, and it was released early in the generation, early in Generation 1. Okay, so just for the sake of the video, I'm going to call it PlayStation 1 Generation 1, okay? And remember, that's early titles, the first 2 years of it being around, 2-3 years of it being around. There was a controller called the Analog, and it was a PlayStation 1 controller that looked just like a DualShock, but it did not have any type of rumble or vibration features. All it did was give you the sticks. Now, I remember when this thing came out, because I was like, wow, this is cool. And I didn't have one because, one, I was like, gosh, 15 when this thing came out, or let's see here. No, I was younger than that. I would have been, wow, I would have been 11 when this thing came out. So I was 11 when this thing came out, right? And I didn't have the money to get it. In fact, the first 3 years of PlayStation was out, I didn't even have a PS1. I was still rocking my Super Nintendo, and let's see, did I get a Nintendo 64? No, it was a Super Nintendo that I was playing most of my life when I was younger. Super Nintendo and NES. Anyways, so this analog stick came out. My brother had it, and I remember he had a game called Jet Moto. Now, Jet Moto is an early PS1 title. It's a futuristic sport bike racer arcade style game. Think Star Wars Land Speeder is probably like the best way I could describe it. Anyways, it was a fun game, but the coolest part about the game is that it worked well with the analog sticks, and it gave you the ability to roll the bike. What I mean by that is when you roll the bike, it's when you look left with your left stick, and you also look a little bit left with your right stick, and what it would do is cause the bike to pitch out. Now, a lot of younger people, or people that are into video games now, do this naturally, and they don't know that you used to not be able to do this. And the bonus here is having 2 sticks. You could do it on the Microsoft, the Xbox 360, you could do it on the PS2, you could do it on the DualShock, PlayStation 1. You have a lot of ability, but like I said, it's when you think of it like a pivot, it's when your butt swings around like that. Like if you ever play a first-person shooter game, when you go around a corner and you look left with the left stick, but you slowly push right on the right stick and it slides you around that corner like that. Yeah, that was cool, and you used to not be able to do that. Now, imagine playing a racing game, a game that is not on rails, and you would float, so the bike had the ability to do it, but not being able to do that motion. And that's really what the analog sticks gave us. Now, by the time I got my PlayStation 1, the DualShock had already come out. Now, I didn't get the DualShock version. I don't know if the DualShock version was out or if my parents cheaped out and just got me the regular one, but it didn't really matter because I ended up getting a DualShock controller later in my PlayStation 1 console. But I remember really awesome games. And what I mean by this is I remember really awesome games early in the system. Certain games that I've tried to get my hands on, and these weren't games necessarily that I had. These were games that my brother had, because like I said, by the time I got my system, my PS1, there's already a ton of games out there for it. So one of the cool games that are on the system, first and foremost, and it's something that I didn't know was even going to be released with it, and I was okay with it, was Intelligent Qube. If you are a puzzle gamer, okay, Intelligent Qube is freaking awesome. Okay, it's a great game. It's simple, it's quirky, but you know what? It works really freaking good. And more importantly, it works good with just a normal directional pad. Normal, everyday D-pad that comes with the PS1. It works really, really, really good for. And guess what? That game is really hard to find, and the game is really expensive. Another thing I need to tell you about Intelligent Qube is that it's not available on the PS1 shop. So if you have PSN and you're just like, well, I'm just going to go buy this game on PSN, you can't get it. At least here in the United States, you can't get it. And what I mean by that is it's only available in Japan. Anyways, Intelligent Qube, super awesome game. Complete in box, you're talking probably 40, 50 bucks, most likely. Worth every penny. It is worth every penny. If you do not mind playing an older puzzle game, it's a lot of fun. Also, let me tell you, Intelligent Qube has also aged very well. The reason why is because it uses very small sprites, and it doesn't rely on polygons. It's basically blocks and one sprite on a big empty black screen. So it aged very, very well. So you can play it on new high-def TVs, and like I said, it works with the controller. So that's a win for Sony. Nobody's talking about Intelligent Qube, and it really pisses me off because all these people are like, oh, Symphony of the Night and Banjo-Kazooie and all these stupid games, you know, Crash Bandicoot. Look, these games you could have bought like 10 times over. Basically, Sony is doing what Nintendo did, where they're reselling you nostalgia. They're not selling you good games, they're selling you nostalgia. Really, is Crash Bandicoot that good? Is it really that good? Or are you just remembering a time when you were younger, more innocent, you had fun, and video games were simple? Honestly, because here's the deal. I run into that too. I run into that now. Like I said, my nostalgia time is Super Nintendo and NES, okay? And I will get a game, right? I'll give you an example. When the Super Nintendo Mini came out, right? I was so stoked. I was like, oh man, I cannot wait to play this. And there are certain games that just did not age well. One of them was Wing Commander. I remember when I was little, I played the snot out of the game. I played that game so much, and when I play it now, I'm just like, what? Like, this is horrible. And part of it is I'm buying nostalgia, and that's where the PS1 is really coming into play. Another game I want to tell you about that's really great on the system, and it's a game that, unless you know it, you've probably never heard of it, but it's called Super Puzzle Fighter 2. And Super Puzzle Fighter 2 is a really cool Tetris / Dr. Mario style game for you Nintendo guys out there. And effectively, it blends Street Fighter characters, like mini kid Street Fighters, with like a Tetris game. Now, let me tell you why this game is really sweet. The game is, it's hard, okay? And it's not fun traditionally on one player. However, where it is a ton of fun is with 2-player. Now, if you have a girlfriend or a wife that hates video games, there is typically one game that he or she is very, very, very good at. And that one game is Tetris. Most people that I talk to that are bad at video games are pretty good at Tetris because it doesn't require a lot of quick movements, dual hand and movement thing. and it just makes it a lot easier. And they can get down on Tetris because they're analytical. Well, the cool thing about Super Puzzle Fighter is that it's very similar to Tetris. You're lining up blocks and you're using the block powers to fight your other person. The bonus to this is video games have brought me together with more people who are comfortable playing it. It's a pick up and play couch arcade game. You do not have to be good at video games to play this. So what I mean by this is, and you can be decent, okay? Because there is some element of randomness to it, even if you're very good at it, you won't win every single time. You won't, because there's a little bit of randomness to it, and that's what makes the couch arcade so great. And let's not forget the system comes with 2 controllers. So if you have someone who's not really into video games, you're like, hey, you want to see this cool game you could play? They could pick up, they could play it. The learning curve is very, very low, and they'll get really good at it. So win for Super Puzzle Fighter. As far as the rest of the games that are on the system, look, I'm a fan of Final Fantasy VII guy. Okay, that I think is my favorite Final Fantasy game. Partially, it's due to the fact that it came out before I really had big access to the internet, so I had to figure out the puzzles myself. Okay, so many people now, they go on YouTube when they try to find out things, and they learn how to do stuff. Back when I was playing it, you would figure it out. I mean, I remember specifically, there's a level in Final Fantasy VII, there's a boss that you fight, and he's dead, okay? He's dead. So what I mean by that is, when you attack him, it gives him health, and when you heal him, it actually does damage to him. So, you know, if you go in there and you use like a Cure 4 on him, you may do 1,600 damage to him, right? Well, I couldn't beat this guy, couldn't beat this guy, couldn't beat this guy. So then I thought, well, if he's dead, why not just try to bring him back alive? So as soon as the game started, I hit him with like a revive. What is that thing called in Final Fantasy? I forget. Anyways, it was like a revive, and because he's dead, it did 99,099 damage on him. Bam, it killed him in one shot, and I was so stoked. I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, because it's something I figured out on my own without the help of anything. And I really did struggle with that game. In fact, I will tell you, I probably logged the most hours on Final Fantasy VII. It looked great, the music was good, the voice acting was good. It's such a great game, and you know, it's really the last of the top-down RPG, JRPG style that we really got. I mean, I know that they went back to it later with Final Fantasy Tactics and stuff, but it really is the last in the line of a succession of great Final Fantasy games. And what I mean by that is in America, you know, 2 through 5, whatever. But if you really go 1 through 7, as in looking at, once again, Final Fantasy Generation 1 through 7 was the same style of game, and then 8 through 15, you know, whatever the hell they're on now. I don't even play Final Fantasy games because I'm old and I simply just don't have time to do it anymore. But, so, for what it's worth. So there we go. That's 3 really great games that are on the system. Now, the rest of the games that are on the system, Jumpin' Jack Flash, never played it. I never played it. Everybody talked about how good it is. I never played it. I don't really think that would be a big selling point for me. Resident Evil 1. Once again, a game that came out early in the PS1 era, okay? So once again, Gen 1, before analog sticks, before the DualShock, it played better with the D-pad, okay? Everybody's complaining about lack of sticks. Look, the D-pad worked just fine for 20 years of video gaming. 20 years of video gaming, the D-pad worked just fine, and all of a sudden we get sticks, and it's like, okay, now we can do more. But the thing is, the game designers knew that the D-pad, how to utilize the D-pad, and that's really what Resident Evil 1 did, was it utilized the D-pad really well. The problem with that game is it has not aged well at all. The voice acting is terrible. I mean, it's a survival horror game, okay? A lot of people are gonna get mad because Resident Evil 2 wasn't on there. Look, Resident Evil 2 wasn't as survival horror,
Okay, it's not. It's more of a shooter. Resident Evil 1, you had to keep ammunition. If you used all your ammunition, you had a knife, and that knife sucked, and you couldn't beat the game. You know, you couldn't do it. So you had to really learn to survive. Some zombies you had to run away from. Literally, you would just run away from them. So, like I said, it's one of those things where it all depends how you remember it. Now, here's the big question. Is it worth $100? No. I canceled my pre-order last night at Best Buy, and it's not for lack of games, okay? It has nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with the analog sticks not being there or anything like that. It has absolutely nothing to do with any of that. The reason I canceled it is because a bunch of the games like Tekken and Grand Theft Auto, by the way, Grand Theft Auto 2 is a better game than Grand Theft Auto 1, okay? If you're looking for a PS1 game and you want to buy Grand Theft Auto and you've never played an old one before, do not buy it because it's crappy, okay? It's crappy. So, like I said, once again, buy GTA 2. It's a better game. Anyways, I digress. Is it worth $100? No, it's not. And let me tell you why. It's not because the games that are on there are PAL versions, which means that they are they're the European version of the game. Now, it's not a big deal with language barriers or anything like that, and I totally understand why they did it. The reason why it's a bad thing is because those games run at a lower refresh rate. And it's not a lot, but it's just enough to be noticeable. And here's what I mean by that. Games here in the United States, TVs run on 60 hertz, okay? Before the advent of ultra smooth and everything, if you've grown up, you're probably used to watching TV in 60 hertz. 60 hertz is the refresh rate, how fast that it refreshes the picture, how smooth it is, okay? Has nothing to do with resolution, has nothing to do with sharpness, anything like that. It's the refresh rate of the TV. Easy layman way to think about this is, let's say you have a flip book, right? You make a flip book. If you flip through it slower and the character moves slower, like, or if it moves smoother, if you flip faster, think of that like a refresh rate. That's probably the easiest thing that I can tell you. These games have a 50 hertz refresh rate, which means they play slow. And that's the problem, is that when you are dealing with nostalgia, okay, it has to be exactly how you remember it. Which is why the controllers are perfect for me, because the controllers are good because it reminds me of that time. That's what I'm playing for. I'm playing for the nostalgia. It's the same reason why I can emulate on my Raspberry Pi all day, and it's not the same as my arcade system that I have at my house. Because I could play The Simpsons on a controller and not have fun with it. The Simpsons arcade game. But I boot up my arcade that I have at my house, turn on The Simpsons, put in a couple quarters, and man, that's a lot of fun. Because it's how you specifically remember it. Now, if you've never played these games before, and you're just looking to get back into it, and you want to see what all this PS1 Classic's about and what these games are about, you're not going to know the difference. Okay? You're really not. So, is it good for me? No. Is it good for you? Maybe. And here's my word of caution. If you've never played the PlayStation 1 before, okay, and you want to try it, go to Best Buy, not GameStop. Go to Best Buy because the return policy is better. Buy one, go home, hook it up, play it for a week, and if you don't like it, return it, okay? You have 45 days to return things to Best Buy, I think, or 30 days to return things to Best Buy. And if it's really not what you think it is, don't play it. Just return it. It's not a big deal. You can't do that if you go to GameStop, but you can do it if you go to Best Buy. But like I said, give it a shot. If you've played these games before and you remember growing up with them, don't go buy it because you will be disappointed. With that being said, I still think you guys need to play Intelligent Cube and Super Puzzle Fighter. So, if you have a PlayStation 1 floating around, go buy copies of that. It'd be cheaper than spending the $100, and they are pretty cool games. Other than that, Raspberry Pi and emulate it. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. whatever. I mean, not like I produce much content anymore anyways, but it is still fun and it helps out the channel. See you later.